Hey there everybody, so I want to talk to you about the psoas. The psoas is a muscle that runs from the top of the lumbar spine and the bottom of the thoracic spine in the back and runs diagonally across the belly or through the organ area here too, that's another way to think of it, and attaches on the inner thigh. So that is a muscle that crosses the back, the hips, and the legs. So it's a very stabilizing muscle for us. And in our modern culture, we sort of overuse or misuse this muscle, and it causes people a lot of problems. It's one of the muscles that needs to be kept the most free. It doesn't take very much to chronically make it tight. So hours of sitting a day, they say a couple hours. I don't know if that's true for everybody. Without moving, just imagine that you do one exercise for 2 hours and what that would do for your body. So chronically tight psoas can come from sitting, but then imagine all the other things that people do to reverse the effects of being sedentary all day. And that would be, for example, jogging, running, walking, climbing stairs, anything where the knee is being drawn toward the chest, which means the leg is not extended out backwards, that is using the psoas. So crunches, all kinds of very controlled belly exercises that are not deeply extending the leg, those can create more tension in this poor overused muscle, and for reasons, many reasons, including just the adrenaline, endorphin rush that comes with all of our exercise, we can have the feeling that we've released the psoas without the actuality of it happening. There's a lot of great yoga stretchers that do it. If you do a really balanced yoga practice, that's great, but it takes a lot longer than the yamana exercise that I'm showing you. The yamana exercise that I've recorded is long and slow. You do not need to do it that long and slow, and the more frequently you do it, the less you need to do, the less time you need to spend doing it. So let's take a look at the psoas muscle. So the psoas muscle attaches up here, where this is a picture of a rib, at the bottom of the ribs, in the back of the spine, and comes across the belly. So you can imagine organs and belly muscles in here. It's deep. It's the other muscles are above it, the abdominal muscles. They're more on the outside. And it comes across the hip, meets with the iliacus, so we call this the ilio-psoas. This is on the inside of what I've been talking about, the hip point, that bone there, it's on the inside of that. It goes underneath this ligament here, goes across the top of the femur bone and comes and attaches on the inside edge of the femur bone, and so into the legs. So this is a very long, important muscle. It gets shortened, of course, with contraction. Another important thing about it is, if you can see, this is a little bit of a fuzzy picture. This is the lumbar spine. So if this is the psoas on the inside edge, this is the lumbar spine, and they're attaching in similar areas, it can very much affect your lower back. So a symptom of having a psoas issue could be a lower back pain. Then, this is a different picture showing a wider psoas. It's not really that big, but this psoas here and the iliacus here attaching on the inner thigh, where all these other leg muscles are attaching. The inner thigh muscles called the adductors. Here's the pectineus muscle doing the same thing. You can imagine another psoas coming here. So it's affecting the inner thigh muscles, and then the piriformis. This is the muscle that starts here in the sacrum and goes out here to the outside of the femur bone there. And you can imagine this muscle going through, it affects that as well. So it's affecting the leg muscles. It also has a chance to affect the TFL, the tensa fascia lata, by virtue of being connected to the hip in the same place as the iliacus. So remember, the ilio-psoas is often what we call the muscle, and because these are attached on the same bone, it can have an effect on that. All right, so then I want to talk about way up high in the diaphragm. So if this is the psoas muscle coming up towards where the ribs begin, the diaphragm is in here, and it shares common fascia. So the diaphragm is a very important muscle for breathing. we need to, it helps us, the more open and fluid that our diaphragm is, the more it can move, the more deeper breath we can get, the more oxygen we can get, the more relaxation we can have. And when the psoas muscle is tight, it pulls via the connective tissue onto the diaphragm. This is also important because that psoas muscle is used in fight or flight. So it is the muscle to draw the knee to the chest to run, cower. You can roll up in a ball, cower, or flee. You could even use it to fight. And it is called the muscle of fight or flight. It has more sympathetic nerves running through it than any muscle in the body. So the sympathetic nerves the sympathetic nervous system is the fight or flight nervous system. The other half of that is the relaxation nervous system known as the parasympathetic. We are not very often in the parasympathetic nervous system in our culture. We're more in fight or flight. Now think about that for several reasons. One is we have chronic stress. We never get a chance to come down. And fight or flight is part of the reptilian brain. It's an old brain that when we had predators, think about it that way, that we would respond. But we wouldn't have to respond all the time, all day long. And now you can have happy stress, like the stress of running a wedding. You could have sad stress like a tragedy, and then you can just have chronic stress about having too much to do all the time and never having any relaxation. So biochemically, your processes never come down. So there's the sympathetic nervous system has a set of biochemical processes: increase the heart rate, increase the blood flow, increase the breathing, tense up all the muscles, course adrenaline through the body. All of these things happening to make you alert and ready to fight and be aggressive. Okay? Well, we don't want to stay in that state for too long. We want to come down, but we're not very good at that. We've sort of overridden this response in the modern world. We are not very much in relaxation. So releasing your psoas, because the psoas, contracting the psoas is a fight or flight response, releasing the psoas allows you to be more in relaxation mode in the parasympathetic nervous system. And it also, because the psoas runs through the belly, there's all these organs here. Your organ function is much nicer, more effective if you've released your psoas. So all those are reasons to do the Yamana psoas release exercise regularly. And you'll be surprised, as soon as your body stands up straighter, your back starts to relax, everything, it's a chain reaction going on upward, and you'll just start to feel very different. Now, if you do TRE with me or neurogenic yoga, this is something you could do before you lay down to do your tremor response, or it might just invoke it. So we are trying to do the precursors to what, really in my opinion, this is mine, the precursors to the tremoring with this kind of exercise. If you do psoas release and then do the TRE tremoring, you have a much deeper release into the parasympathetic nervous system than just this Yamana exercise. But this is a fabulous one. You can do it on a break in your office. You can do it on a break from work during the day. You can do it before you go to bed. You can do it before you get up, and so that your posture stands up straight. So anyway, I really want you to, I took the time to talk about this because I really want you to understand how important it is.